Hi, my name is Mickey Ferrucciaro and this is the video class that goes along with my tutorial for the PodFlake. This is my little puffy snowflake, poinsettia, whatever you want to call it, depending on the colours, how it works. I'm going to show you it in two colours, and this is simply because it's easier for me to show you the front and the back when we're working. If I do it in different colours. And here I've also put it onto a chain, so you can see all I've done is created a little bead loop like a figure 8 through that drop, and that creates a little bail for it. And then if you just do the centre and one pod, you can make a nice little earring. So if you want to use it as jewellery, you can, or you can just do the ornament for Christmas. Lovely on your tree. Okay, so we will get started. Drops. For this design you're going to need 6 super duos, 6 little Miyuki drops, and your metallic you'll need 5 grams, and your main colour you're going to use 11 grams. So I've split my 11 grams into 2 different shades, so 5.5, 5.5, so it's easier to show you this design. Okay, step 1 is we're going to string our 6 super duos. Okay, and we're going to form them into a circle for the center of our little snowflake. And you want this to be really quite strong, so I'm going to go through it a couple of times just so I can get a really nice firm tension on it. Go to the end of my thread. Okay. And this is my 3rd pass around through the beads. And for extra strength, I'm going to knot the ends. Whoop. Did I lose my end there? No, I kept it. Okay, so knotting the ends so we can get that as firm a centre as possible. You'll see why as we work it does get pulled about a lot, does this centre. So we want to make sure it's nice and firm. Okay, so that is our step 1 for our center. Okay, now you're going to take your thread and go through the next hole of the bead that you're coming out of. So as we're coming up, we're going through the outer holes of the super duo. And here we're going to work with our silver beads. This is bead B. And we're going to add 3. Now on this it's easier not to do too tight a tension, so don't pull it too tightly because we are going to manipulate the beads. So you're going to just do 3 in each stitch. One does not want to come on. 2, 3. And our last 3, and we're not going to step up, so we're just going to go through the super duo. Okay. And now because this is 2 sides, we're going to do that all the way again, going through the same holes. So a second layer. Just exactly the same thing. One, two, three. One, two, three. And this is our last stitch, and we're going to step up as we go through the last one. We're going to step up through the first bead of that first three. And now we're going to start our colour. Okay, so this is, we're going to do a different colour on each side, so, or a different shade on each side. So we'll start with our dark shade. And you're going to skip that centre bead. And this is why I say keep your tension loose, because what we want to do is pop this bead that's sitting up, we want to make it sit down. So as we put our coloured bead in, that should just pop the bead down. You see how that's happened? Okay, so if your tension's too tight, that'll be difficult to do. Okay, we're going to add 2 of our silvers over our super duo and go through the first bead of the next 3. Add one of our coloured beads, pops that into its place. Two more of our metallics up through the first of the next 3. One of our colours, skip that middle bead, two of the metallics over the super duo, coloured bead, skip that centre one, two silvers over the super duo and up through the first of the next 3. This can be a bit tricky getting your needle in, and that's why I say keep the tension loose. It's much easier if your tension's loose. If you're having trouble, it's because your tension's too tight. I know it's tough if you're a tight beader. I'm a tight beader and I've had problems. Okay, so up through the last one here. See, as we've worked around, that tension has got tighter as we've gone. But I think we're good. There we go, and our last 2 of our metallics over the super duo. I'm just going to go up through that first bead. So that's what that looks like. Now we have to do the same thing on the other side with a different coloured bead. So as you're coming out of this bead, all right, as we finished, we're going to just, turning is really nice and easy because you're just going to go through its matching bead on the other side so that you're turning to come back the other way. Okay, so you see your thread go in and we've turned. Okay, so this one we're going to do a light shade. So once again, we've got the 2 metallics over the super duo through the first bead of the 3 and then add our coloured bead. Skip the middle one, it pops into place. 2 metallics, it's being a little troublesome here. Get your needle in There we go. Just up through the first one, not the two. There we go. Put our coloured bead in. Skip that centre one. My tension's a little tight on this one, I think, and that's why I'm having an issue. You see that it's not sitting up there? It's kind of good when I get issues because then I can show you how to fix it. Just pull that bead down. Try not bend your needle while you're doing it. Did a really nice bend on my needle there. Well, we'll work with it for a minute. Okay, so 2 more, and if I can work with a bent needle. There we go. Up through. 2 over the Super Duo. And one of our colours. Pop our beads down. Make a little tug. And that one popped down quite nicely. Two of our beads. Now you see on this, you can see how that bead is already down, so that's going to make life very easy. That's our 2 over the Super Duo. Colour over that one. Two in. This one's going to take some coaxing, I think, as we get tighter around. If you're a tight beader, it's hard to do looser beads. People say, oh, you got to be a tight beader, and it's like, you know, it's easier if you're not a tight beader, because you can always go in and tighten beads up. You can't go in and loosen them. Okay, so here we are with our colour. Through our third bead, and hopefully this is going to just pop it down. Just play with it a little bit. Bending it backwards and forwards sometimes works. Just eases that thread a little bit so that it'll allow the beads to do what you want. Tricks of the trade here. Okay, you can see it's all laying quite nicely. And we've got our last one to go. Okay, so up through this one. So 2 beads over the Super Duo. And our last coloured bead in. And I think he's going to play nice. Look at that. He just popped in there so nicely when we thought we were going to have a problem. Okay, and we are going to step up through the first of that pair. Okay, so that's what we've got. We've got the one colour on one side, another colour on the other. Okay, so as we're on the light side, we'll continue on the light side, and we're going to put one of our coloured beads in between the 2 silver delicas, metallic delicas, and then we're going to work 1, 2 stitches, and then up through the first of the next pair. Okay. What we're doing is we're going to create these little kind of sides that we're going to work our petals from. So this is all there is to this. Nice, easy row. One in between our pair. One, two, one in between the pair, one and two. Okay. In between the pair, one, two. Through the one in between the pair, one and two. And we're not going to step up because we're going to turn to go on the second side. Just having trouble getting through this. There we go. Okay. So no step up. That's what we look like. And we're not stepping up, so you turn it on its side and you can see you're coming out of this bead. So our turn again is really nice and simple. Okay, through the corresponding bead. Now we're back to our darker shade and we're going to do exactly the same on this side. One, two, up through the first of the pair, add one between them, down through the second. Two in between, one, two, we're back up through the first of the pair, down through the second. If you haven't seen my videos, you'll know that if they've got anything within a 5-mile radius, I will get my thread caught around it. That's just who I am. Okay. And that's our last stitch. Okay, now I'm going to turn because we want to be coming out of one of these beads on the points to start our petals. Okay, so that's, you can see the side and our pale side. Okay, so here we are turning. I'm going to go up through. You know, I came out of that silver, I'm going to go up through the silver on the other side and step up through the pale turquoise. Now I'm in position to do my petals. Okay, so we're on the pale side. So what we're going to do now to start our petals, we have to create a framework for the petals first. So we're going to start by adding 21 beads and we're going to alternate them, starting with the metallic and alternating with the colour of the side that you're on. Or just the colour if you're only doing one colour. So 21 beads, we will start and finish with a silver. Let's see how we're doing. It's nice when you're doing alternating beads like this, it's nice and easy to count, because if you go 3 of the metallics, so the number you start with, there's 3 of those beads gives you 5, 3 of the next colour gives you another 5, then 3 of the silver, that's a 5, 3 there, and 1 silver is my 21. That was a good guess. Okay, so now I'm going to add my little drop bead. Okay, so we're stringing that, and now we're going to add another 21 beads. Again, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. Okay, and for this we're going to, as I said before, we're going to use a straight panel for our petals. So as we're coming out of this bead, right here, we're coming this side out, we're going to go in this side of the next one. Okay, so you can see it'll twist, but this is how it's going to look. Okay, and now we're going to turn, so we're going to flip over, and we're going to turn by coming out of, as you've gone through this bead, you're going to just turn by coming through this bead. Okay, so the second layer makes turning very, very easy. Okay, now we're going to add the same 21 beads, but with the darker color, because we're on the dark side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and one more is our 21. Now we have a drop already there, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the drop on this side. Okay, so you can see now we've got 2 strands at that side. Now we need to add the other side, so another 21 beads. That tail thread is driving me nuts. Okay, so here we go. Another 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, they're jumping around today. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Let me just double check that. 5, 10, 15, 20, 21. All right, and so this one is going to go through this bead. So as we came out of that one, we're going through this one. I say we've got lovely easy turns on this. Make sure it sits at the right side. There we go. And again, our turn is to go up through this is the bead from the center, the turquoise, and then the first silver of the strand. So we're back into the pale color. Tail thread. Okay, so I'm going to put it over this way so we know we're on the pale side. And you might want to make one of these in the 2 colors first until you get the hang of it, and then you'll be able to do one color very easily. Okay, so here we're going to work the petal frame. So what we have to do is we need to work in our colored bead. This is the light shade, and we're just working, you know, that peyote row where we hate that third row of peyote. The first row after stringing, which is row 3. So we're just going to work our way up. Okay, and then when you get to the top, you're going to go through the drop. So you're going through that metallic bead and the drop. And then you're going to step up on this side, make sure you get your strands right, and you're going to go through the silver at the top. So you're going to step up through there. And then you're going to come down this side, again with the peyote. Working into the metallics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, push the metallics out, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now at this point we're going to turn, and again you've got that lovely easy turn with having the 2 sides, and as you're coming out of this silver on this side, you're going to go up through that first silver on the other side. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing in the darker shade. Our 10 beads up, working into the metallics. Almost there. And here's our last one. Okay, so now we have a framework for our petals. So we've got a front, a back, and sides. Okay, we're going to work the sides first, or one side first, and work around the petal. So to turn, again, we've got that lovely turn going through the other side and step up. Okay, so now we're going to hold these 2 strands, the 2 where we've got the 2 colors. This is where the side is. So this is a side panel. So we're going to work up this side with our pale shade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, once you've got the 9 in, you're then going to turn. So we turn it over and we come down through the first of the darker colours. That's a nice easy turn. And here we come down with our 9 stitches on this side. our last stitch. And our turn. Our turn again, we're going to go through, so we're coming out of this bead, we're going to go up this one, that's the turn, and then we're going to step up. And now we're going to work in our pale colour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Just 8 stitches. We're going to lose a stitch every loop that we do. Okay, so our turn again is we just go up through the corresponding bead on that side. Turn it over so we work in a good direction, and we have our 8 beads coming down this side. And we're losing beads because we're decreasing at the top and the bottom each time. And that's our last stitch. And now we're ready to turn and step up. So again, go through the corresponding bead and step up. So let's turn it over. So we're going to do 7 stitches this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Our turn, our lovely easy turn. And our darker shade, 7. And then our easy turn with a step up through the same corresponding bead and up. A bit over. Here we go. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our turn. A little bit over and 6 down this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And our turn and step up. Okay, so that's the colour that we're going to do. We're now going to work a row in our silver. So just 5 beads, 2, 3, 4, 5. And instead of just going straight through the turn, I'm actually going to add a bead in that turn. So before I go through that bead, I'm adding one of our metallics. Okay, so it sits on its side over there. Okay, then I'm going to come back down this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm adding another of our metallics in the same way I did at the top, down here. This will be an anchoring bead. It's how we join the petals together. Okay, so you can see how that is. All right, so this is our last row, and it's going to be a zip row. Now you can choose your color that you're going to do it in. Normally you would just, if you're only doing it one color, it would be the colored bead. I'm going to go light. Two, 3, 4, and then we're going to turn round through the other silver, and we're not going to work here, we're going to zip this up. So through this one and then the silver, so through the color and the silver, color and silver. If you can't do it together, it's okay just to do it individually. Individually works well. Okay, so that's that seam sewn up there. So you can see that it'll open up. All right, so that's what you're looking at. The side panel of the petals. And we're going to go down now, we're going to do a flat panel front or back the same way. And to get in position for that, we're just going to weave all the way down through our coloured beads to come out of that silver. And that puts us in position to start working the front or back panels. Okay, so for the front or back panels, as you're coming out of this silver, we're going to work up in our colour, just in the peyote. All the way up. All the way up to exit out of our top colour bead. And as you come out the top bead, you're just going to go over the top colour bead on this side to turn. And we're going to work our 10 beads down this side. And when you get down to the bottom, we do need a bead at the side of this silver, and that's going to be an odd count peyote turn. So we're going to add our bead, we're going to come back up the silver bead, which is where we wanted to lay next to. Okay, so there you can see that's the new bead added. Now we need to turn, and so that we're coming out through this bead. And we do that by going up the next row, next bead, and then across it to the down the one side of it. Then we go back through that silver, and then we can turn and come out through that bead. We have a few of these turns, but they're not that bad. Okay, so now we're ready to start the next row. and here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we're doing a decrease here, so you kind of come across and go through the next up bead on this row. Come down there, and we need 9 on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now we're going to anchor this to the center, and that's how we're going to go through this bead right here. So you can see you've got the 2 beads in between on the center. This is where we use them. So we're going to use that as an anchor. And we're going to start our next row, but because we're using that as an anchor, our beads won't lie perfectly. So we're going to do a little kind of back stitch on it. So we put that bead in, and you can see that it's not laying tight against that bead. It's a little off kilter. So what we're going to do is we're going to do like a little odd count turn. So we're going to go down those 2 beads, so the one next to it and the one below. And then we're going to come back through that bead we just added and the next bead, the up bead it went into. And you can see the difference right there, that it snugs it right the way up. Give it a tug. Okay, and snugs it up there so you've not got a big gap. And then you continue working this row, which is also 9 beads because we're only doing the turn, the decrease up at the top. So this row will still have 9 beads. And if you've seen some of my newer designs that are coming up, Lotus Box and the Acorn and a lot of other ones I'm working on, they use this technique of decreasing for petals and also anchoring beads to a flat area so that when the beads are in a different angle. So if this is kind of like a little lesson for those, if you can make this, you can make those. I know some people think my projects look complicated, but they're a lot less complicated than they look. So if you can do this one, you will be able to make the upcoming Acorn box no problem. And for this one, we're going to anchor this down, so you can put your bead on your needle, go through the other bead on the center, so that second bead on the center, and then we still need to, you see how it's sitting cockeyed? We still need to join that together. Up, and then up and again do that odd count. So up another bead, cross over, and come down those 2 beads at an angle. And then up through that bead, which will tighten it all up. Okay. And here we're going to join these 2 beads together. So the 2 bottom beads we're going to join together. When you come down that, it's like a little back stitch. Come down the next one and then back up. And we're going to come down it again. And now we're going to add a silver bead. And then we're going back up. So that's going to sit on the edge too, so at a different angle. Okay. So now we've got one more row of our colour to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Our turn, decrease turn, and 8 down this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 through that bead. Okay, so now we can do our turn, which we can go through the silver and then up through the 2 turquoise on this side. Okay. And now we're going to work a row of silver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to add a silver in the top of here like we've done on the side panels. So a silver in the turn. And we're going to come down this side. 1, going to do our turn. We're not going to add a silver down here because we have one just a bit further down. So we're going to go through there and step up, and we're going to prepare for our zip row. So in our colour, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and turn through the silver, a nice easy turn. And now we're going to zip this up just like we did for the side panel. So through our colour, our silver, colour on that side, silver, colour, silver, colour, silver, colour, silver, colour and our silver. We're going to turn. This is this section complete, that front panel complete. So now we've got to get into position to do our other side panel. And to do that, I'm going to go up the silver and up the next turquoise, because I need to be coming out of this turquoise down here, this teal colour down here. That's the bead I'm aiming for. So whichever way you want to weave it, you can weave it. If I go up another one and then I turn here and I weave down in that diagonal, I can end up coming out of that turquoise. And that way I can then do my turn and I am ready to work that side panel. Okay, so I'm going to go work this side panel. I'll come back to show you how to weave your thread through to get for the other flat panel on the other side. Okay, so that's the second side panel done. And you can see we've got kind of a geometric shape going on. And if you don't puff these out, you can actually leave it so it's more geometric. Gives a different look to it. I like the puffy ones, but if you want to do that, you can always leave it so that it has like, it'll have a crisscross when we finish this panel. Okay, so now I've finished this, I'm going to step up on this. I need to get my thread down here to do this panel here. So I'm going to go up through this and up through that coloured one, and just so I can weave my thread down. Coming out of there, I'm going to weave all the way down. Coming out of that one, so I'm going to weave down. Down. And down. So this is the silver bead here that you want to be coming out of to do your front panel. And you're going to work the front panel pretty much the same way. I'm going to add some more thread and we will do that. Okay, so here we are coming in that silver bead, and we're going to work just the same as we did for the other side. But I'm just going to do the one row and then is when I stuff it. Now, if you don't want to do the stuffing and you want the more geometric one, which it makes this like a cross, you just continue on and zip it up in the same manner as you did for the first. But as I'm going to make this into a puffy one, I'm just going to work this row and then we will stuff it. Sometimes just turning it around to get the angle for your needle helps out a lot. So our turn through our colour at the top and working down. here we've got the odd count turn, so I'll show you again. You add your bead, go up through the silver, get my thread caught on everything. Okay, so we want our bead to sit at the side. There we go. So the bead sits at the side, and now we just need to turn, so we're coming back out of that bead. So we're going to go up the next colored bead, down the one by its side, and then back down that silver, there we go. I joined my threads, so I have a little knot in it, and then you come back up through this bead, and that's your odd count turn. Okay, so like I say, if you want the cross version where the points are just a crisscross at the top, then you would just continue, zip it up. But as we're going to stuff it, cotton wool balls, that's how I stuff these. And I have these dandy tweezers, so I'm going to open this up. So use my tweezers just to open this up, push those sides out. You can get your thumb in, that works too, little finger, just to puff them out a bit so we can get our cotton wool in. And then we're going to push the cotton wool in. Might have to do it in a couple of pieces. Pull this side out. Put some more in. And you figure out just how much you need, how puffy you want it. Just a little bit much in there, I think. So just playing till you get it all stuffed nicely. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Okay, so once that is in, I will continue. So now it's all stuffed and puffed out. I'm going to continue with this and stitch it up, and I'll come back to show you how to weave to get into position for the next petal. Okay, so there we are with our fully finished petal, and now we need to start our next one, so we've got to get in position. So this is where I finished my petal. I was coming out of this silver bead, and I'm just going to work my way down here, so through these next two of the turquoise beads, and I'm going to go through the anchor bead, that turquoise anchor bead right there. Just got to get your angle in. Okay, so it's coming through there, and then you're going to go up that turquoise bead at the other side of the anchor bead, down the silver, and that'll take you through that turquoise at the base, which is this bead, the point bead that we join our petals to. So you're coming out in exactly the right place that you want to be for the next petal. Okay, so then you would start your next petal and do the frame, which you've done before. I'm not going to show you that again. So make your bead frame and work your side panel. You'll be doing this side panel that's next to the bead first. So work your frame and then work this side panel through the colors. And I'll be back to show you what you do when it comes to the silver section, because it's just a little bit different, tiny bit different. Okay, so here I've got the second petal and I've started my side panel, and I'm now ready to do the silver row. And there's only a little bit of difference with this, and it's just on this side panel. We'll work our silvers just as we did on the other. Our one to turn. And then come down the other side. And this is the only difference. On this petal we put this bead on right here. We don't need it on this one because we're going to use that one to join that petal. So we've joined them together. And then you do your step up, your turn and your step up there. Woo! Flying everywhere. Okay, so then that pulls that in together. So we're sharing that bead on this petal. So you'll do everything else on this petal the same way. You know, you'll be putting that bead in on this side because that'll be the one for joining the next petal. Here we just got the zip row to do, so let's put that in. Turn and zip. And after zipping that one, of course, you're going to get ready to do this panel. Basically the front or back panels. So all the way down. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle to come out of that silver bead down there. Okay. And then you're ready to continue. So that's the only difference that you've got with the other petals, is that just that joining. So you can go on and get all your petals done. I'll come back on the when I do the side panels on this last one. It's a little bit you know, when you get all your petals in and puffed out, then putting this last one in, you haven't got as much room, so it's a little bit more space. Plus you're going to be attaching that petal at both sides, because you're going to have a petal at this side too, so you will be attaching to both of those beads. Okay, so that's all there is to this, and I'll show you some other things shortly. Okay, so I thought I'd show you working on this last petal. I have put the cage in, you can see the framework for it, and I've started working on this side. Now the only difference on this is it's just a little squishy to get in, so you know, showing you just how to work it, pulling the leaf, the petal forward, that's kind of the way around everything. Or pushing it backwards, whichever, you know, just so that you can get in. That's the only issue with it, is being able to get your needle into the beads. It's just the same as the other petals, just the fact that you've got to hold it a bit different. doing our turn. When you're coming down this way, it's much easier. And once you're getting out here, then it's easier still, because you don't have, it's when you're working in this little tight area that's difficult. Just because it's a little squishy, that's all. That's our last one on this side, and again just pulling your thread through to the other side so that you can do your turn and step up. Okay, because you can see it gets easier the further out you go. Turn it here so we can see exactly, make sure we don't miss a stitch. Sometimes just seeing how you hold something can make a project go from very difficult to not so bad. And of course it's very different when you're working on camera, and I might not bead this way when I'm not filming, because I have to make sure that the camera can see. So again, you'll find your own ways as to what's comfortable for you. Gonna get caught in all those petals now. Pull our thread through, do our turn and our step up. And then we're onto our silver row, which we can kind of see from both sides now. You can see I'm coming from below that petal just to make sure I get my needle angle correct. Then we do our one in the turn, and then we come down. And of course you're going to go join our petals together by going through this bead, the silver bead on the previous petal. And that's what you will also do on this side, because you've got one at this side too. And that's all there is to it. And you'll have this finished. I'll come back and show you putting a loop on it. So if you've got a decent amount of thread left, don't cut your thread off, because we can weave it through and make a nice hanging from it. Okay? So here we are with it finished, and I still have my thread attached, and I have a decent length of thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work it back up here so that I can create a loop. So all we're going to do here is we're going to just weave back up this seam. So we'll have to turn first and then just weave our way back up through our beads. thread caught. So just weaving up, and I'm going to go up through this line of beads. So we're just weaving up and getting thread caught every single time. So we're going up through this one. That's the top turquoise, and we're going through the silver so that we can then go through our drop. Okay, now you're going to leave a loop and then come back through your drop. Okay, so you've got a nice loop to hang your ornament on, and then we've got to weave this loop in. And a good way to start is just to go underneath your bead, if you can get your needle through. There we go. Just so that you can tie a knot. So you make a little loop and go through. That helps secure the size of your loop. And then it's just a matter of weaving your thread in securely. So when you're weaving in, you want to make sure your thread crosses a couple of times. So as I'm coming up, I'm going to go round, so I've gone round those two beads. So my thread is crossing. And we will do that again. Go back up. So I know my thread's crossed. I've done that twice, and you can do it as many times as you feel is necessary, but my loop is quite safe now. Okay, so I can just finish it off and trim. And there you go. You have your little ornament all done, ready to hang on your tree. Now, a little note here. I know this is a nice little project, but the techniques that I have taught you in here, how to make the petals and attaching to the center beads to make your anchor beads, those are the techniques that I have used in this, which is the lotus box, which is basically based on a tin box but with no tin. Okay, so that's how these petals were formed. And also for the acorn box. So these techniques are in here predominantly. This is where you can take those techniques if you make them larger. So if you can make these, you can make my acorn and my lotus box. Trust me, it's not that difficult. Hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll try some of my bigger projects.